The following program is rated TV MAL. It contains strong language and is intended only for mature audiences.
TBS, America's #1 independent television network, presents the following sports exclusive.
You're listening to Basically a Sports Show.
Follow us on Twitter at Basically Sports.
Subscribe to our podcast on iTunes.
And check out every episode of the show at basicallysports.tumblr.com.
Now here's your hosts, Zach,
Greg, Mike.
and this is Andy, and you're listening to Basically a Sports Show.
Oh, yeah, I might want to put everybody in the chat so we could actually talk to people live on the air.
That would be nice.
Yeah.
That would be nice.
Like, where is everyone? What happened here? And I'm like, oh, yeah, I got to put everybody in. I usually do that while the Open's playing. But I was too busy looking at Zach, who will not be joining us tonight, telling us he's going to be listening to the show.
Oh,
Yeah.
hey, Zach.
Hey, Zach.
We have 2 hours to disparage his name, and he can't defend himself.
Now that, yeah, we don't have to mention his comments if he puts any in the thread or text us or whatever. We can just go off on him. Speaking of which, Zach, you got to talk to your LA Rams. They put out a gift today after they picked up Von Miller of Teddy KGB from Rounders saying we're going all in. And I said, you guys get that the guy that looked like Tom Brady ended up beating Teddy KGB in that movie, right? I mean, if you've seen the movie Rounders, you know exactly what I'm referring to. If not, then you have no fucking idea what I'm talking about. But
What a foolish mistake. I mean, it was probably there's probably a limited number of gifts available of somebody pushing in chips, you know.
oh, you would think that with the World Series of Poker, there'd be thousands of them out there, wouldn't there?
I guess that's true.
Yeah.
Well,
Anyway, I think it's going to be ironic as hell if the Bucs end up beating the Rams at the end of the season after all this. But yeah.
now listen, I just opened a thing of yogurt, and I'm going to step aside and let Hollywood Mike
Yes.
dish on the Portland Trailblazers.
Yeah, take it away, Mike. You seem to have a
So
a bee in your bonnet is the way they put it, I believe.
be in my bonnet. Oh, hey, Zach. Zach's in the comments. Pardon me. So the NBA released their NBA City Edition mixtape jerseys, and they're all up on the CCSLC if you want to check it out, and maybe we can go through a few of them. But I'm not here to talk about all of them right now. They're mostly bad, some good, but mostly bad. But the one that I want to talk about is specifically the Portland Trailblazers one, because the Portland Trailblazers decided that their jersey would be, it would be black, it would have red trim, it would have red striping down one side, and it would say Rip City across the front. And I decided to give my thoughts on the CCSLC on all of these jerseys. And I mentioned that the Rip City thing was stupid.
Because it is.
Because it is. Yes. Now, the Blazers weren't the only ones that I said looked bad. But apparently, the Portland faithful took extreme umbrage with the fact that I said Rip City was bad. And it's organic. It occurred naturally. You need to respect the local culture. And no, I don't. Rip City, first of all, it sounds like a fart. All right. So that's number one. Number two, I don't care if it came about organically. Okay, yeah, I get it. Some commentator in the team's first season kind of called it out organically during a last-second game-winning shot. Congratulations. I get it. But it's a dumb nickname. It doesn't tell me anything about, you want to know what a good nickname for Portland is? Rose City. City of Roses. I understand that. I get that. Rip City? What does that mean? Again, it sounds like a fart. But beyond that, it tells me nothing.
Like this?
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly. It's just a dumb fucking name. And every single time anyone anyone says anything critical of it, oh, Rip City, that sounds dumb, you get this legion of Portland fans who will jump down your throat telling you how you need to respect the local culture and how you'll get it if you're from here. No, bullshit. I am so sick of this whole, you need to be from here to understand it nonsense. All right, that is a load of crap. If something is dumb, it's dumb, and it doesn't matter where you grew up or where it's from.
Can I interject for a second here?
And Rip City's dumb. So
you're talking to someone whose local basketball team uses the land as part of its name. And I can tell you, you can be from here or anywhere else, and it's still stupid. No one here is going, hey, you've got to be here to understand. It's like, no, it's a made up term. It's that simple. It was a made up marketing term that they needed to put on a jersey, and there's no connection whatsoever to the local culture or anything else. That stupid name, and I don't know how did Rip City evolve organically?
Apparently, at some point. I don't have the full details in front of me. It was explained to me at one point, but there was some game-winning shot during the Blazers' first season, and when the shot went in at the buzzer, one of the commentators for the Blazers on the local television yelled "Rip City!" Just kind of
that's it.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right.
And now Nike's putting it on shitty basketball uniforms, and anytime you dare criticize it, the Portland faithful will all descend from their deer huts and their fur trapping stations, and they will let you know about what it's like to, they know what it's like to be a Portland Trailblazer. All right, okay. Obviously we don't.
Well, that's probably true. I mean, I'll give them that, but. I just think it's dumb. I think all of these made up nonsensical slogans that they're putting on jerseys are dumb. I mean, you've got the land and Rip City, and I forget
the Valley.
The Valley. Which one is that? That's Phoenix, right?
Yeah, I remember at one point Toronto had the North, Cleveland had the land, Golden State had the Bay, and the Wizards had the District.
Okay.
All on it was one season that they all lined up like that, and now you got the Valley and Rip City, and the Pistons have rolled out Motor City a few times, and it's
Motor City's legit because it's been
Motor
City,
but I get it's legit, but to me, or Sacktown on the on the Sacramento Kings, which I don't know why they think that sounds cool, because Rip City reminds me of farts. This just reminds me of, balls.
Right.
So whatever. The point, I guess the point that I'm getting at is that if you want something to put on the front of a jersey, you've got a location name and you've got a team name. And, I think between those two choices, you can make one work.
Fair enough.
These other names are dumb, and Rip City's dumb, and one of these days we'll be free to say that without the Portland Inquisition, getting all uppity.
Without retribution?
Yes, without retribution.
Yeah. Well, I agree with you. I think it's dumb too. So whoever out there, look, Portland fan. I mean, look, if you like it, you like it. That's fine.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't change the fact that it's dumb. I'm sorry, and I'm sure there are dumb things that I'm positive there are dumb things that I like NASCAR, for instance. But that's we don't want to go down a different road there. But it's just it's a thing, and you know what? People are going to say. I mean, my God, I'm a Cleveland fan. How much shit do you think I take over stuff all sorts of dumb things? But anyway,
the brown remains unchanged.
Well, that's true. And the orange represents I don't remember, rivets or something.
No. The orange was the passion of the dog pound.
Oh, the stitching was the rivets or the hard
stitching
work.
Was the rivets, yes.
Yeah.
Sad.
Which apparently, by the way, again, that stitching, apparently to get the stitching bold enough that the contrast in color would show up, they had to make the stitching thicker than usual, which meant that it caught on pads and apparently was a pain to put on.
Well, they could use some of that stitching to get their shit together at some point.
I'm sure we'll talk about that, yeah.
Yeah, wow. But yeah, so there you go. Rip City in Portland and the Portland Inquisition and the whole lot of you. You've been told.
The only thing I have to say about the NBA jerseys that were released today, and this is a word that I use in one way, others may interpret it in another, is the word kludge. Have you ever heard the word kludge?
Oh yeah, like they kludged all these elements together.
Yes.
Is that what you're getting at? Yeah.
It is a collection of ill-sorted parts assembled to fulfill a particular purpose. These are all kludges. All of these jerseys are literally kludges. They're just grab bag mixtape things.
Well, like I mean, we could probably get a bit into the reads, and I don't want to do that. But
I almost don't want to talk about these at all because they're just so.
I just want to mention one thing, which isn't anything specifically about any single uniform. It's more just like a trend that not all, but most of these have, which is that it looks really weird when you look at these uniforms and you see logos that were never meant to share the same space on the same uniform. Like, there are a few of these jerseys, most of them, that are guilty of this, but the one that I think is really, really egregious is the Nets, the Brooklyn Nets. So for the most part, I like the Brooklyn Nets uniform. I like the Brooklyn Nets jersey. It has the 90s word mark that I really like. It kind of calls back to the ABA uniform, which was nice. It's a nice little design, but you've got you've got the 2000s Nets logo on the waistband, which which clashes with everything because that was a completely different logo from the logo the word mark is referencing. And then on the side of the shorts, I guess, because as Andy said, they kludged a bunch of elements together. They tossed on the New Jersey Nets 80s logo.
I don't even remember that one.
Well, it's like it kind of looks like the Pepsi logo. It's like a
right.
It's like half
yeah.
blue and half red, and it's got like
Yep.
the state outline of New Jersey, and it says New Jersey Nets on it. It's like, but the team plays in Brooklyn now. You are the Brooklyn Nets. You play in Brooklyn, and you're putting a New Jersey Nets logo on like I don't know. It's just a trend that I've noticed with a lot of these where, because they're pulling from so many eras, a lot of these uniforms will have logos that are from completely different eras, like shoved into the same uniform. And it creates kind of like stylistic clashes in a lot of ways that really bug my OCD.
Well, I'll tell you what it reminds me of. I used to have this pickup truck. It was a 92 Dodge Dakota pickup truck. And that thing was built out of spare pieces and parts that Dodge had decided, well, we can take like this part and this part, and we'll throw it all together and we'll make a truck. And it came out, about the way you would expect it would. It was okay. It ran, but it always had problems. It always had issues. And when something would break, we got to get the, say, alternator from a different Dodge because that's what they use. You know what I mean? It was like a hodgepodge of throwing together parts. And they're like, and here you go. Here's a truck. That's what these jerseys are. We'll take all these parts. And here's a jersey for you. Like, I looked at the Cavs one today and I thought, well, I like the old 70s logo, the circle one that they, it's kind of around.
with the blob that vaguely looks like a Cavalier.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I like that logo, but come on. And then there's like you still have to get the party popper uniforms in there somehow, which are completely different color scheme, the whole bit. So the whole thing's just.
Well, I mean, the Cavs are another great example because you've got like the old 70s logo on the front.
Right.
And then on one side of the shorts, you've got the 90s logo. On the other side of the shorts, you've got the 2000s logo, and then you've got the 80s logo on the waistband. So you've got all these logos that, yes, they're all Cleveland Cavaliers logos, but they all look completely different. They don't look like they were ever meant to go together because they weren't. And it's just like a mess. Like,
there's no continuity.
No, there's no cohesion. And the last thing I'm going to say on these, it's less anything about any one jersey, but we've said it before that Nike, by insisting on like 2 to 3 new jerseys for every team per year, they've run out of ideas. They've burnt through all of the viable ideas for all of these teams. And so now they don't have any ideas left. and they're just recycling past elements. What's gonna happen once all of the past uniforms have been cannibalized? Like, this whole Nike uniform system is not sustainable, and we're kind of reaching the bottom of the barrel here.
I think I know what will be next. We've seen it a million times on the boards where you'll take, like, say, a Rams uniform and put it in, or not the Rams, because Lakers and Rams are kind of similar and with the gold and all that. But let's say, like, they'll take the Cavs uniform and put it in Browns colors, or they'll take the Indians uniforms and put it in Cavs colors. That's what we're going to see next. I'm calling my shot right now. That will be next. You'll see the Milwaukee Bucks come out on the court in the colors of the Milwaukee Brewers. That'll be our next step, because that's really the only place left to go, isn't it?
Yeah.
Wait, hold on. This invokes last week. Greg, did you not guarantee the Lions would win? Was that the guarantee?
Probably.
I'd have to go to the tape, but I not
Sure,
not
I
to,
believe he did. I believe he did, actually. Yes.
yeah, not to completely shift gears. I mean, I cannot give a single. I don't even want to validate the NBA's jersey stuff with further discussion, but yeah. So the Lions were down 36 points to the Eagles within like 10 minutes of the game starting.
Yeah.
That was. I mean, I picked them to win too. I don't know. So I was reading already. So we kind of talked about how the Lions, Dan Campbell's tough guy act was going to wear thin. It's already starting, and apparently there's already some reports coming out that he's losing the locker room already, because people are just like, you can talk big all you want, or you can talk big all you want, dude. We're getting our fucking ass kicked out there.
Like they lost 44-6 to Philadelphia. Like, God, like. And Philadelphia's not even good.
They're not good.
So when you're a player for the Lions, and you are a Lion, and you're sitting in the locker room, and Dan Campbell's growling about, like, biting kneecaps, what do you, like, as a player, you're just like, guy, we are getting killed out there. Like, give us some direction instead of this tough guy shit.
You know, first off, in my own defense, this show is littered with bad picks I've made and guarantees. To go back to all of them. We remember the right ones, but my percentage is probably, I don't know, maybe 30% I get right. But with the Lions, you had the game against the Rams last week where it was a kitchen sink game. They threw out everything they could think of, fake punts, onside kicks, all that. They still lost.
As Zach said, play us one-on-one, you cowards.
At some point, as a team, you've got to realize, like, if we got to go out and pull this kind of nonsense, well, then something's wrong here, because it's fun for us as fans to watch. It's certainly cool when they run a fake punt twice and get it both times and all that, but that's not a sustainable offensive scheme. And I think the players have figured out, like, hey, you know what? For a while it was fun trying to win for this guy, but now it's just gotten kind of ridiculous with all the nonsense. And it's a shame. I mean, God bless Lions fans. I'll say that, man. I thought it was tough sticking it out with the Browns, but Jesus, if you guys,
okay. The Lions faithful are now getting, like, nostalgic for Jim Caldwell. How bad is it when you're going, God, we want Jim Caldwell back?
Oh, if we could just go back to the days of Joey Harrington and drafting 3 wide receivers.
There's a great clip from I don't think it was the Eagles game. It might have been the week before, where there's a cameraman in the end zone, in the Detroit end zone, and maybe it was the Eagles defense celebrating in front of the camera, and the cameraman slowly reaches over and pulls a Detroit Lions cap off the ground and puts it on his head. And it's like, I'm a Lions fan. Fuck off with your celebrating in front of the camera. Life is hard enough.
Wow.
And it was a really cool kind of Shakespearean moment there, because
proud defiance in the face of utter domination.
Right.
Yeah.
It was like it's
like do not go quietly into the night.
I don't know.
By the way, more on Dan Campbell.
Sure.
So they lost 44-6 to the Eagles. You want to know what Campbell's explanation was?
I can't wait.
What
we got out-coached.
You think?
Yeah.
You
Oof.
lost 44-6. Jesus Christ.
I just, like I said, I really do feel for Lions fans, because that's just got to be, I think, the toughest gig in sports, right? To be a Lions fan. I mean, you've got, it's bad enough that the Browns have to hang their hat on a championship from 1964. For the Lions, you got to go back to like before, like the 50s. Like TV was barely a thing last time they won a championship. It was like this newfangled invention. It's just, I don't know. I feel bad.
I'd put the Jets in there as a,
but the Jets have always got Super Bowl III.
Yeah, but they had. I mean, I feel like they've.
But
it's
been a load of wet farts since.
Right. You know what though? If you sat down and compared the two, like the trajectory of the two franchises from that point forward, the Jets.
Oh, by the way, the last time the Lions won a super, not even a Super Bowl, was an NFL championship, 1953.
Was it 53?
Yeah, 1953.
I thought they won in 57.
Did they win in 57? I don't know. The reason I said 53 is because here you go. If you look in the private chat that we got, I just pulled up the championship celebration logo for the 1953 Detroit Lions.
Yikes. Yeah, it's like a cartoonish lion, standing on top of the earth, and the earth is farting. It is releasing some sort of a gaseous cloud.
Yes, they did win another one in 1957, beating the Cleveland Browns, actually.
Oh, of course. It's always, of course it's the Browns. Who else?
You know what's, oh God, I'm sorry, I don't mean to dunk on the Browns too, but it's like, I just imagine the 1957 NFL championship game, these two powerhouse teams, we're going to be seeing a lot of the Cleveland Browns and Detroit Lions in championship football in the coming years. And then,
yeah, it's kind of a small picture, but you can kind of, if you're watching on the YouTube feed, you can kind of see the logo from the.
There you go.
The long ago championship. That's when everything was drawn by freehand, and that was the end of it. The championship there. Yeah, it's 57 for the Lions. Yeah, Chaos Blast is right. Yep. But yeah, it's just tough, man. I mean, being from Toledo, I was around the Lions a lot, or not the Lions themselves, but a lot of Lions fans. And like I said, God bless them. I mean, they hang in there. I don't know why. Because if anybody's earned the right to go, fuck this, we're done. It's them.
Yeah.
You just pick somebody else. Pick up
so the starting
Bears, the Packers, the Browns,
the starting QBs in the 1957 NFL championship
I might
game.
know this. Can I take a guess?
Sure.
Bobby Lane.
Nope.
No?
No.
Okay. Was it Otto Graham for the Browns?
Nope.
Oh shit! I got no. Milt Plum.
Nope.
I got no idea. Go ahead.
The Detroit Lions starting QB, Tobin Rote.
Oh.
Middle name. Tobin Cornelius Rote.
Oh fuck, that guy's. You got to put him in the Hall of Fame just for that name, don't you?
Mm-hmm. Starting QB for the Cleveland Browns, Tommy O'Connell.
Wow.
Sounds like an old bare knuckle boxing match from the turn of the century.
Tobin Cornelius Rote versus Tommy O'Connell.
Yeah, that's place in a Dublin pub, didn't it? That game. Yeah.
Anyway. Yeah, the Lions. They're unfortunate. I don't know. I didn't watch a whole lot of football this week.
Holy crap! Tobin Cornelius Rote played for the Toronto Argonauts as well. Awesome.
Very decorated.
That's a great name. That's just a great name. But I watched a little bit. I watched my Browns lose on Sunday, which was fun.
Yeah, they were your pick also. It was not a good week for us. The only person that was successful was Mike picking the Cowboys over the Vikings.
That was interesting too, because something called Cooper Rush was playing quarterback for the Cowboys.
Something called Cooper Rush.
That sounds like a drug you would do. Like, hey man, you want some Cooper Rush? Yeah, hold me up, bro.
Cooper Rush sounds like one of those like made for TV, like Hallmark movies, like where he's an athlete, It's like star quarterback of the high school football team, Cooper Rush.
Straight out of Varsity Blues or whatever
it's
called, yeah.
But we had the
Bears lost too, right? Yeah.
Bears just got this. They gave up. I don't have the numbers in front of me, but I think they gave up like 480 yards of offense. The 49ers never punted. Every drive ended in either a touchdown, or or a touchdown, a field goal, or a game-winning kneel. But then Justin Fields was really good though. I thought he looked really, really good for the most part.
Bears in the lead for a while in that game.
Yeah, they were doing pretty well. They gave up like 20 points in the fourth quarter and just looked like shit. I mean, whatever. At this point, I'm dealing with enough sports things.
Yeah,
that I don't. The Bears are just like last on my list of giving a shit.
I think all three of us come into this show with a loss. I think
the Bucks lost to the Saints.
Yeah, the Saints had
Trevor Siemian and the Saints.
Yep.
Not even Taysom Hill.
Lots of injuries. There was tomorrow's the trade deadline, so we may be talking about some weird shit next week. But Von Miller is probably going to be the biggest splash that gets traded. Zach seems to be really pumped about that.
What a great move! I didn't realize when I thought it was a second round pick. It's a second day pick in the draft. So we're talking like what, 3rd through 7th round at that point for 2 of those for Von Miller. You might accidentally stumble onto a guy that will end up being a star, but I'm making that deal all day long if I'm the Rams.
Somebody pointed out on Twitter that like the 2025 Rams draft class is going to be one guy like alone. It was like the Pulp Fiction John Travolta looking around gift. Like, where's everybody?
But yeah, Zach is actually the only one whose team came away with a win. The Rams beat the Texans, although 38-22 was far closer than I thought it would be.
Yeah, but it was they were way out in front, and that was just those were garbage.
Oh, that's garbage time. Okay,
yeah, definitely, yeah.
The Rams basically came out and very quickly said, no, you're done. Just shut it down.
Pretty much.
So I mean, I guess the question is, circling back to the Detroit Lions, are we seeing an 0-17 team here?
No, you got to think Dan Campbell. I mean, it's a long season. Dan Campbell's probably gonna like grit out 2 wins. I think they're good for 2. Do they play the Texans?
I don't know.
Let's see. So
we got
week 9. So week 9, the Lions play. Oh, they have a bye. Good for them.
Well, they can't lose.
They may beat the Bears. I would not be surprised if they beat the Bears.
Okay, so week 10, the Lions play the Steelers.
That's at Pittsburgh.
It's at Pittsburgh, yes.
That's probably a loss. I would not.
Yeah, here we go. Week 11, rematch of the 1957 NFL Championship game. Detroit at Cleveland.
You know what? I'm not saying shit about that game.
I mean, that's like the trappiest of all traps there. Just like,
see, I think the Lions are one of those teams like the Jets were last year where they're just going to accidentally win at least once, right? Where it's just going to be one of those stupid games where everything that the team they're playing, everything goes wrong and they're injured.
Well, week 12, they play Baltimore. I know Baltimore's sketch. Oh, wait, no, they don't play Baltimore. Sorry, I misread that.
I think they play the Bears on
Thanksgiving. They play the Bears week 12. Yeah.
Now that's a Thursday game on Thanksgiving. It starts a little earlier than normal. It's already a short week.
And it's in Detroit.
So, all the Bears players will just want to go home and have turkey.
Yeah, I mean, the Bears have already been. The Bears are in hell right now for the most part. They're just in a bad place, and I feel like that is definitely probably the best chance they have at winning. Because I don't think maybe the Falcons, they play in Atlanta on like the day after Christmas. That's possible.
They play at Denver. Denver's not good. Maybe.
I don't know. That could be an Elements game. That game could be lots of snow.
Okay, and then the Cardinals are gonna bitch slap them. Although the Cardinals lost. The Cardinals lost to Aaron Rodgers.
That doesn't count. That's the great Satan himself and the Green Bay Packers. Rodgers will not allow that.
The Falcons again. Yeah, no, like the Falcons Lions, like I feel like that's going to be each team like desperately trying to give it away to the other team and nobody's going to take it. Seahawks, I guess in 17 depends on if Russell Wilson's back.
Well, one thing we haven't talked about potentially is that there's a coaching change because they may fire Dan Campbell before long just to kind of make a statement, which I mean, it'd be a bad statement because it's his first year. and they may just be like, fuck this, we're cutting bait. In which case you have a very big opportunity for one of those like rally wins around whatever the temporary coach is. But I doubt that happens personally. I don't think that's
when they were competitive and so close and he's crying and stuff, I don't think he was in any danger of being fired. Now if they keep getting blown out like this, then it becomes a reality, I think. Because you can put up with close but no cigar. You can't put up with 44-6 every week or whatever the score was.
And you can't. I mean, your game against the Rams where you pulled everything out of the book of tricks. That's you can't do that again. I mean, you can play in desperation certainly, but like that's no way to live. You're just a joke at that point.
Yeah, players know that too. You
can't win it. You can't win an honest to God just game where you dominate the time of possession and win a series or two. I mean, it's very unmanning of the organization. So I don't know. As a Bears fan, I got my own problems. I don't give a shit about the Lions. If we lose to them, I mean, whatever. The Lions are. I feel like they're a kindred spirit franchise to what I deal with, just on a sadder scale. But I mean, if they did turn it around in a few years, I'd be really happy for them.
Oh yeah,
and I think they'd be happy for Bears fans on the other side of the coin. But it's whatever. I don't know.
Could you imagine if the Lions won a Super Bowl? I don't know that Detroit would be left standing after that. I saw what they did when they won the World Series in '84. I was there for it in person. I was like, Jesus, you won. And you're burning shit down, No,
I mean that's just Detroit. I mean, when the Pistons win a couple titles in the last 20 years, I thought they weren't like burning shit down, but I don't remember. The Red Wings won a handful of titles over the last.
Right. I guess being a Detroit fan isn't that bad, really. You've got a World Series in '84 with the Tigers.
Yeah.
Then they go to 1-2 in like the early 2000s.
Yeah, but they got beat by the real great Satan, the Cardinals.
Right.
Yeah.
And then the Wings won. How many cups did they win in that run they had there? Like what, 4 or 5?
Three. They beat. No. It was 4. Okay, so they won back to back. They beat the
Colorado.
No. They beat the Flyers, and then they beat the Capitals, and those were both sweeps. And then they took a few years off. Then they came back with Hasek in net and beat the Carolina Hurricanes in one of like those weird Stanley Cup finals. It's like Carolina versus Detroit. It's okay.
What a horrible uniform matchup that must have been.
Yeah, you got the Detroit
Red.
You got the Detroit Red Wings of the team desperately trying to pretend to be the Detroit Red Wings, and then, but I actually remember pulling for Carolina in that one because A, fuck the Detroit Red Wings, and B, I thought Artis Urbe's like all white beaten to shit pads looked awesome.
They did.
And then I think they won their last cup. They beat the Penguins right before the Penguins went on a run of their own.
Did Detroit ever lose? Did they ever get to the finals and lose?
Not in this current run. Like they did back in the day, but no,
they did. They did with Hossa.
New Jersey beat them in like 95 or 96, if I remember.
Yeah, right. New Jersey beat them in 95, and then the one that Andy's talking about is so Detroit played Pittsburgh and won, and then the next year they had a rematch, and Pittsburgh won the year after.
Okay. And Hossa was on the losing side of each.
Yes.
Oh man.
Yes.
It was like a weird pro wrestling thing where he switched allegiances and anyway. He
pulled off the he pulled off the shirt to reveal NWO and then ended up eating the pin.
And then he won a title with the 2010 Blackhawks, which we'll talk about at some point.
That's a good segue to.
Yeah, we need to talk about this because wow. So
I'm going to start off by saying Jonathan Taves can go straight to hell. Fuck him, he's an idiot.
A lot of people in that organization that are going to go straight to hell, whether they want to or not, I believe.
Oh, and just to before we get too deep into this darkness, one last bit of levity. Jarrett points out that Cam Ward first and only good season was in 2006, where they won the Stanley Cup for Carolina, and then yes, he technically was in the league for years and years afterwards, but man, did he ride that one Stanley Cup win to the bitter end.
I would carry him on my fantasy team just because he got starts. Because remember we
Right. We
start for a category.
Right.
I didn't give a fuck if he gave up 12 goals. I just needed.
He kept giving up 4 goals a night, but they kept starting him.
Put it in there. Can't hurt.
But yeah, the Detroit Red Wings. Jonathan Toews is a fucking idiot. I mean, so both him and Patrick Kane kind of did the dumb thing of like trying to voice support for the executives who got shit canned.
Yeah.
But here's the thing that's shocking to me. You know, Patrick Kane maybe took a bad take, but like at the same time, like Patrick Kane actually did go out of his way to be like, hey, what happened to Kyle Beach was fucked up. It was messed up. I had no idea it was happening. If I had known, I would have tried to have been a better teammate about it. And I'm really sorry that that I wasn't able to be there for him. And I want to reach out and offer my, sympathy and my help now. And then Jonathan Toews just cried about how mean it was that Stan Bowman got fired. So it's like, how is it in a case where sexual assault is the topic that Patrick Kane comes off the sympathetic one?
I don't even think Patrick Kane. I don't think he was overly in the right with his comments either. I mean, they both.
He wasn't, but he was better than Toews.
Well, right, Toews. Well, so this has been a really hard week. I've got a tote about 2 feet to my left that is full of all my Blackhawks shit. I grabbed it all, put it into the bin, and there it will stay. The main thing that's been difficult, because I mean, we've known this was happening for a few months now.
Yeah, we talked about it a while back. Yeah.
Yeah. And we were kind of all waiting for the report. Now I'll give the Blackhawks a little bit of credit. Because initially when you have somebody who says we're going to run an investigation ourselves, that is usually like a great sign of like, oh, we investigated ourselves and it turns out we did nothing wrong. It's like
we're a great bunch of people,
right? I think that's what everybody expected, and they also expected a redacted report. They expected just a lot of chicanery and shady business. And to the Blackhawks' credit, I guess they said, "Here's the report." Like less than 12 hours after we got it, we've fired everyone we can. Or in other words, with Stan Bowman, their general manager, he stepped aside, which is just pathetic. He's fired. Like there's no other polite way to put it.
He got resigned.
Yep. And Quenneville got fired from Florida / resigned, and I guess the Winnipeg GM, I can't remember his name, Shadell Dioff. I'm saying it wrong. He is not apparently going to be held accountable at all.
So apparently what happened was Bettman met with both Quenneville and Shildayoff.
Yep.
And it was, I guess, I guess the justification that Bettman gave was that Quenneville was he was the coach. He knew firsthand about what was happening and he chose to do nothing about it. So he's out. But Shildayoff was apparently just like a junior management position, and he was only at one meeting, and he was under the opinion that it was going to be basically he was not a high man on the totem pole, so he didn't have much sway, so he's kind of absolved.
So if you read the report, the most damning aspect of this is Kyle Beach was the incident was brought up, and if you read the report, this isn't some like trivial little incident. This was a guy, a sexual predator, who threatened a very young player's career and told him basically like, if you don't pretend you like this, I'm going to break your fucking knees and I'm going to make sure I'll soil your name so you never play again. And he's like in his second year in the league, elite pick, high ceiling, and had a lot to lose, and let the guy do his thing, and it fucked him up real bad. But anyway, this was known and taken to the organization, and they had a big powwow. We've used all these weird like Native American terms, powwow, totem pole shit, kind of weird. Anyway, so they got together. It was Quenneville and Bowman and John McDonough, who's somewhere hiding.
McIsaac.
McIsaac, piece of shit. Yeah. And they all got together and basically said like, hey, let's table this. You know, we don't.
Well, the
we're
idea was it was the middle of the playoffs, right? And
Right.
and the really disgusting thing about it was it's like we don't want to like
That was
compromise team chemistry, I think is what they said.
This took place during the first cup run, right? Of the
Yeah,
series?
2010, the 2010
so-
playoffs, yes.
So they somebody said, I think McDonough or Bowman said, like, we may never be in this position again. Like, we need to take advantage of this, and we can't have this distraction. So I think the ultimate thing was that it ended up being like a post-it note handed to an HR person who just kind of threw it away. You know, they and if you listen to or better yet watched the Kyle Beach interview, that's one of the most amazing things. Like, I was having a rough day after I read the report and was sitting around my office. Get home that night, and he comes out on TSN, and it's incredible. Did either of you guys watch the?
Yep.
I mean,
yep.
it's amazing. If you haven't watched it, I strongly recommend you watch it, especially if you are a Blackhawks fan who's kind of on the fence about this whole thing and kind of wants to side with the team. You watch this clip. It's 20 minutes, uncut, unedited, of this guy breaking down, just completely destroyed by this. And by the time I was done watching it, I knew it's like, I'm taking all my shit down. I'm getting rid of it. Like, I can't do this. I can't back like Chaos Blast said, you know, it's bad enough having to sit through Patrick Kane with the fucking cab driver thing and the sex, the rape case and all this stuff. Like, he's been not great. It's hard to support that guy alone. And the Blackhawks are no strangers to controversy, but then this comes out and it's like, do you really want to like support a team like this? That's like, this is just the beginning. They did this for a video coach. Imagine what they're hiding for other people. You know,
not only do they do this, not only to a video coach, but then knowing that he was a sexual predator, wrote him a letter of recommendation to work with high schoolers.
That has not the letter of recommendation. I've not seen anything yet that says that's valid. If there is a record of it, it's either been destroyed or it's not being.
Well, conveniently the investigators couldn't find the.
Yeah.
What was it? The personnel file.
Right. So apparently that also is just a matter of course that they do as an organization, which I find a little bit
odd, suspicious.
But that's not a strange thing, I suppose. But again, this is probably the tip of the iceberg with this. There's a lawsuit that's happening now between the two that's going to be contentious, to say the least. But overall, the main deal is that anyone who could be fired is gone, pretty much. There are only two players left from that team, which are Taves and Kane. And Taves, I feel like last year when he kind of went out for that weird illness and missed all year, the team was actually a lot better and like a lot healthier in terms of like the vibe, I guess. And with him back, I don't think the chemistry is all fucked up. He's playing on like the third line. Like they're not a good team at all, which is, you know, I don't give a fuck about that. But they are like in this prime position now to do a lot of the right things by their standards anyway. You got to ditch the logo. You got to get rid of Bobby Hole associations. You probably got to get rid of Taves and Kane. You can't build any fucking statues for anybody, and you can't talk about the 2010 Cup. There's a couple really good articles about this on The Athletic of what they need to do. I wrote about it a little bit, my feelings on my site, 1985edition.blog, if you want to read about last week.
And you want to know what? I quite liked your Chicago Hockey Club concept. So, yeah, you know.
Thanks, man. Well, the thing is, I wrote about that like 2 days before all this shit came out. And now, like honest to God, like I said last week, I've gone full Kraken. I've adopted the Kraken as my squad now. I'm trying to get into the Kraken culture as much as possible. And honestly, it's fun as fuck.
Do you have a plushy salmon?
No, I want one though. I've given my wife a big gift list of Kraken shit to get. I got a poster, a hat, a sweater on the way. Like I'm doing the full deal.
Do you have anything that says "Release the Kraken" on it?
Yes, the poster says "Release the Kraken."
Oh, okay.
So anyway,
okay.
So and I mean, I'm still following the Blackhawks. I don't know what the hell to feel about them. I wish bad things for them because they deserve it. And yeah, KS Blast, the Flames have been playing surprisingly well. They're doing okay. I haven't completely abandoned the Flames. I've just sort of been. I just put them on the back burner and kind of watch their development.
I just want to point out too, really quick, that when
Yeah.
it came time to remove Aldridge's name from the cup, they had to go through, you guessed it, Lanny McDonald.
I was actually taken aback by that when I read that story, and it's like curator Lanny McDonald, and I'm like, huh, all right, neat.
Yeah, you can't escape Lanny McDonald. Sorry.
Lanny McDonald just became like, he's apparently like the grand elder gatekeeper of the
Right.
Stanley Cup.
He will get
Yeah.
you one way or another. You have to pass through Lanny McDonald to get anywhere. But yeah, I thought that was funny. Because I always talk about him because he's the guy from the '80s Flames that won that cup, and
Who has the crazy ass mustache? Yeah.
he's the one I remember from that team. I couldn't name a single other. Was it '89 Calgary Flames?
Yeah, 89. Al McGinnis was on that, and
Yeah,
I
Al
think,
McGinnis. How can I forget Al McGinnis? You're right.
and Mike Vernon, I think, was the
Mike
goalie.
Vernon- Was he the goalie for that?
I think he was.
Okay, Mike Vernon. Yeah, I know those three. But Tio Fleury wasn't on that team, was he?
No.
That's way before his time, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. But anyway, Andy, I don't know what I would do if one of my teams were in this spot. What worries me about these things when I see this happen is, okay, we caught one. How many did we miss?
Well, the sad thing about it, and Theo Fleury is actually pretty apropos that he would be brought up, given that he was a victim of sexual assault during his days as a player.
Who was that kid with the Bruins too that went through this? I can't remember. I can never remember his name.
I can't either.
I mean, there was the Graham James thing in the '90s with Theo Fleury and Sheldon. Damn it, what was his name?
Sheldon Kennedy was his name, right?
Sheldon Kennedy. Yeah.
Yeah, that's
So-
what I'm thinking of. Yeah,
So I guess what I'm getting at is that there's a Chaos Blast point. Oh, so Theo Fleury was on the '89 Flames, according to Chaos
wow, that's a
Blast.
pretty good hockey club right there.
I did not know he was in the league that long. Okay, but anyway, the point is that hockey culture is is fucked, and I have kind of made allusions to this that kind of talk to a degree of Canadian hypocrisy, which is that, like, okay, a lot of Canadians, we kind of look at the United States with high school football, right?
Right.
And we go like, it's kind of weird that you're all obsessed with, bunch of teenage boys playing football, that it has the level that it does, and that it's like obsessed over to that degree. And my opinion, that is a justifiable position to have, to be kind of weirded out by it. But ultimately, we're really not that better because, okay, high school hockey in Canada isn't really big, but we have the juniors,
Right.
which are high school aged kids. And high school aged kids, playing hockey, playing in the juniors, that is a big deal. The junior leagues in Canada draw huge ratings. There are entire draft specials about drafting like 14-year-olds to junior teams. It's all messed up. And what the unhealthy obsession Americans have regarding high school football is something that we Canadians have with junior hockey. And Jesus, GTOV participant Hank Lob, but Hack and Lob,
Hockenloob, he was.
Hack and Lube, he was. Yeah. But I guess my point is that, like, hockey culture is fucked up in its own way, and it has become a haven for sexual predators. And it all ends up, and the reason it ends up being tolerated and covered up is the same reason why, say, why did Joe Paterno cover up for, Jerry Sandusky for 30, 40 years?
Right.
Because Sandusky was a good, coordinator, and Joe Paterno didn't want to get rid of a good football coach, and he didn't want to drag the organization through the mud. And when you come back to this Blackhawks situation, why didn't the Blackhawks take action when they knew what was happening? And it's because they didn't want to. I mean, I'm not saying that this guy Aldrich was a good video coach or whatever, but they were like, we're in the middle of a Stanley Cup playoff run. We can't rock the boat. We need to, So at the end of the day, it all came back to, it's like, oh, what's the best thing for the team? And it doesn't matter if you're in Canada, if you're in the United States. Doesn't matter if it's football or hockey or whatever. There is this, like, we as a society have this really weird obsession, and I know it's weird to say for guys who have a sports podcast, but people who like sports are put on a pedestal that they really don't deserve. Okay, if you hired me to be a hockey coach, right? And if someone for whatever reason hired me to be a coach in the NHL, and we, obviously, you hire me, I'm going to want to win the Stanley Cup. That's going to be my goal, and I'm gonna go all in on trying to do that goal. But I'd like to think that I'm a decent enough person that if in the midst of that, scenario, someone came to me and said, hey, coach, like, we got a sexual predator in the organization. He's victimized, this person. We need to do something about this. I'd like to think I'd have enough human decency to be like, yeah, no, doing right by this victim and getting this sexual predator out of this organization is the right thing to do here, not worrying about the fucking Stanley Cup playoffs.
Well, the other part of this that's really frustrating is, they talked about it, at least it was written, and it kind of sounded to me in my head like when this came up, they talked about it like it was, we can't let this get out. We got too much to focus on, yada yada. Like, this should have been a complete afterthought. It's not like this guy was like the bench coach or something, or a useful coach. Like, how many fucking video coaches are there in hockey? There's tens of thousands of them. Like, this guy could have been easily fired within minutes and should have been.
Wait, well, let me ask for a clarification here for people that don't follow hockey that closely. So by video coach, are we talking like he sat down with players and went over video, or he was the guy that gathered the video?
I think his role was probably both. I imagine he was kind of a curator and for scouting purposes, and because I believe part of the harassment was he would have players in there watching tape, and then he would quote unquote accidentally put on a porno video, be like, oh, you caught me watching pornography. And then would flip back to the game, and then it would happen again and again and again until eventually they were just watching porn. And it was just all sorts of shit like that.
But essentially, though, I mean, I don't know. That's what I'm trying to find out. Was his job just like, okay, look, here's the game you wanted to look at. I'll have it queued up for you in here, and we can go through it. Or was he like, okay, see, you're, coming down this way on the left wing side, you're out of position, and he's not 100%. Doing that.
Yeah.
No, that sounds like Greg. The latter sounds like, I mean, I'm not trying to downplay the role of the video coach too much, but I'm saying like it's not like it was Quenneville himself or somebody who like their termination would not have sent like a shockwave through the organization. If anything, it would have made them look good, because it's like, we identified the problem, we got rid of this fucking guy, and we're just kind of rallying around this player, and we're gonna do our best to help him out. Instead, they just fucking sat on it. They paid Aldrich like $13,000 in a cup fee, or a cup payment as a bonus, and they basically offered him to politely resign. So they just dropped the matter. And then they basically told Kyle Beach to go fuck himself. And
that's what I was saying, though. Like, if you're just talking like, unless this guy's actually coaching, I can do his job right today. They could call me in today and I'd be able to do it right now, because I know how to edit video. I know how to upload video. I know how to do it. So, my thing is, what the fuck made this guy so important?
Well, it's the old boys club thing, Greg.
Yeah,
I'm sure
exactly.
It's one hand, it's somebody scratching somebody else's back. I'm sure this guy has his fucking roots. I mean, that's why these guys stick around so long, is that they end up having like there's a bunch of handshakes around, wink wink nod, tap of the nose.
It's like Andy said, it's the old boys club. It's something like, he's been with the organization for however long. We can't get rid of him. Like, just even if his job is something that is not particularly strenuous or arguably even necessary, like,
especially for the 2010 Blackhawks roster was fucking loaded. Like, those guys that was one of a really good team that I just it's so unnecessary. That's one of the worst parts, is that this did not need to happen at all.
I mean, if it was Quenneville, okay, yeah, you've got, and I'm not, look, I think that no matter what, the minute you find it, and this is why Penn State went off the rails the way it did. The second, okay, there were rumors as far back as like 76.
Yeah. The Sadusky thing goes back to the 70s. Yeah.
The minute you've got anything that even, it doesn't have to be hard evidence, just enough circumstantial evidence to go, you know what, fuck this guy, we're turning him in. Penn State becomes a beacon of light on the shit hill that is NCAA sports. Look what we did. We took a highly regarded coordinator, saw that he was fucking kids, and said, you know what, no, you don't do that here. Instead, they buried it, and look how it played out for him. And now those motherfuckers are back like nothing ever happened, which I think is bullshit. Which is why
they lost to Illinois in like 10 overtimes.
Well, so then they lost to Ohio State after that, so fuck them.
Yeah, then they lost to Ohio State, so they can wallow in their continued misery.
What I'm saying though, it's like with this video coach. Yeah, you're in a playoff run, but goddamn, that team was so fucking good. You could have killed a goat on the ice. It wouldn't have phased them. I mean, fuck it, they didn't matter.
I mean, that would have been pretty awesome. It was just in the middle of a game. How fucking metal is that?
No, that's the pregame ceremony. We sacrifice a goat. We sacrifice a goat to the pagan gods to aid us in our quest.
That team was that fucking good. You had nothing to worry about. But I guess my thing is always with this, and there's two things. It's like, why didn't you say anything the minute you found out? Because my girlfriend's got this great thing. She says you can never get caught telling the truth, and that is so true. I mean, if you're just honest, you don't have to remember anything. And it frustrates me that they try to hide this shit, and that just makes me wonder. Well, if you did it, not just the Blackhawks, but Mike, you brought up you would go into coaching right now, and you would be a person who would go, hey, hold on a minute here. You'd probably lose your job over it, but you would be that guy.
Yeah,
because we didn't grow up in the culture from like the time we were kids all the way up through. I mean, that's a lot of hockey. There's a lot of coaches. That's a lot of shit going, and you get. Laser focused on that dream of taking the ice in an NHL sweater, and I don't know that it's just it's a cultural thing. I hope it's not as prevalent as I fear it is, but
I mean, I as someone who played hockey growing up, who played youth hockey growing up, granted, I was never good enough that I was ever going to have any shot at the NHL, but I played organized hockey growing up. I played competitive hockey growing up. I was very much into hockey culture. In a lot of ways I am still, but of course, I want to, believe that it's not as prevalent. But I'm kind of I can't help but say, I think Andy's right. They caught this guy, what's going to happen? What hasn't been unearthed? Do I believe that, with all, that with, all the responsible parties basically forced into resignation. Quenneville's probably never going to work again in the league, and good, he shouldn't. But with all, are we to believe that? Oh, okay, all the bad actors are out?
Well,
no.
And it's not just hockey. I mean, I think that I can't speak on why youth hockey is. Maybe it's because it's so expensive, and it's
no. I can tell you why youth hockey is this way. And I think it actually gets worse the higher level of competition it is, because
of course,
for me,
you get closer to that dream.
Well, you get closer to that dream. One and two, I was never in a position where I was ever gonna even have a shot at making the NHL. So I played organized hockey at the local rink. I played pickup hockey with friends, and then later I played high school hockey, which in Canada, high school hockey is not that big a deal. It really isn't. If you're that good at that age, you're playing juniors. And so as a result, hockey was for me basically just a hobby, on the weekends, go play hockey. But I was never really on anything that you'd call a travel team. I was never really that far from home, but okay, you get a case. In junior hockey, you have a kid who, let's say, is good enough that they're a potential NHL prospect. One, like you said, Andy, they're closer to the dream. Two, if you are, say a 16, 17-year-old kid who's trying to make the NHL, you get picked up by a junior team in the Canadian junior leagues. They take you from your home. where, they take you from your parents, they take you from your friends and your support structure. You're put into a new city that you don't know. You're put in, part of this thing is, of course, that the teams have to put you through school. So they put you into a new high school that you don't know, that you're never even going to fully get acclimated to because you're playing hockey for most of the season. You're in very unfamiliar environments. And it doesn't matter if you're a prodigy. It doesn't matter if you're super talented at that age. You're still a 16, 17-year-old kid who's away from home for the first time, who's desperately trying to accomplish a dream that very few people accomplish. And, unsure kid, no support structure, willing to do anything to really make it. That is unfortunately a prime breeding ground for sexual predators.
Well, not only that, Mike, but don't you think too that a part of it is that they've grown up, especially if you're playing at that level.
Mm-hmm.
The coach knows everything.
Yep.
I mean, you see this in like almost all sports.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
If you've got a problem, go to coach, not to
Yeah.
the police, not to your parents, not to whomever. You go to coach, and unfortunately, sometimes coach doesn't handle it so well. Joe Paterno, or
Joe Quenneville.
Yeah. So,
Yeah.
But that's the thing. So it's like you said, it's a ground that it's a very fertile ground for predators, especially at that age, because these kids, I mean, they're scared to death.
Mm-hmm.
Of like, oh my God, if I don't do this, they might send me back to the farm in Calgary or wherever, or Alberta, whatever. Not that that's a bad place to be, but
all the farms are in Saskatchewan, Greg.
Okay,
Jeez.
Saskatchewan. But you know what I'm saying?
Yes.
I'm going to get sent back to Thunder Bay or wherever,
Yeah, yeah, but no, but that's
wherever Chaos Blast lives up there with what's his name?
12-foot
Davis.
12-foot Davis. Yeah.
12-foot Davis, yeah. But no, but that's a very real. No, that's very real. Like if you. Like, I don't care how good you are. I don't care if you are legitimately the next Wayne Gretzky. If you're a 16, 17-year-old kid away from home for the first time in an unfamiliar surrounding, you're going to be vulnerable.
Yeah.
And that's why this stuff happens.
Well, look at that fuck from Michigan State, that doctor. I mean, my God.
The the gymnasts and stuff. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
I mean, so I kind of wanted to address another thing with connected to this. So, our dear friend of the show, I guess friend of the show, Admiral, very weird responses to all this.
Right.
And I think he was kind of, and I thought about this a little bit myself too, the invocation of Paterno and Sandusky in connection, like as a contrast to this.
Mm-hmm.
I understand why you don't want to necessarily compare these two situations. I don't think they're. I mean, what Sandusky did is like unfathomable evil. Like that
was 40 years of rape, essentially. Yeah.
He is without a doubt the all-time heavyweight champion in that regard. Without question.
I mean, the Blackhawks, they basically mortgaged their integrity for 3 championships, and it was a mistake. But Kyle Beach is finally, and I hope everything just continues to go up for him as far as he seems to be wanting to champion this, as far as like taking some agency over it and some empowerment. And I think there will be, hopefully, you hope there's a further effect of this creating more awareness, and not just the bullshit like have a pink t-shirt awareness, the awareness of actually like, hey, talk to your kids about this shit and let them know. It's like if anybody tries to do anything at any point in your life, whether you're 7 years old or you're 17 or 27, you tell somebody. You got to tell somebody, and you can't. And I think it's an education thing, but I think it's also important because Kyle Beach, he's like 6'4". He was like 250 pounds when this happened. He was a big dude. And even when I was talking to my dad the other day about this, and he's, a passionate guy, he was like, I just don't understand how a guy that big didn't just fucking deck the coach if he was touching him in a way he didn't want to be touched. And it's like, well, that's power dynamics, I mean,
that's power dynamics. He was what, in his early 20s?
He's like 19, 20 years old. He's a kid.
Right. 19, 20 years old, desperate to hang on to a roster spot, person in the position of authority of the team.
Yeah, and
it's sadly not surprising to see how it happened.
And we were talking like the Toledo Walleye here was the team,
Mhm.
where the Chicago Blackhawks, an original 16, is having a great season.
Yeah.
All that stuff.
Yeah.
And he's young. He doesn't know how any of this works. He's like, maybe everybody has to do this. I mean, you just don't know what he was thinking. And I would never blame him for not, taking out the coach or whatever, but it's none of us have ever been in that situation, I hope.
Yeah.
And you just don't know. But, like I said, we talked about this back when we talked about it the first time, because we're like, how could a kid let this happen? Well, he's 19, 20 years old. He's in Chicago, home of the Blackhawks, original 6 team, having a great season, the whole thing. He's that close to achieving the dream, and this happens. So
yeah, and I mean, and in this situation, he was a black ace, which is towards the end of the year, after the AHL season is over, the Blackhawks call up, I think it's like 5 or 6 of their like top prospects who they think are the most NHL ready, and they're basically like a practice squad type thing, to where if a bunch of injuries happen, a black ace gets promoted to a playoff roster, which is obviously like a really big fucking deal.
Yeah.
So I mean, this was a major opportunity, and he's kind of on the edge of a knife, trying to fulfill the promise of being like the 11th overall pick and potentially, being a consideration in good standing with this organization and with these people in charge. But yeah, I mean, I get it. I don't to overly embellish what's happening with the Blackhawks in comparison to the Paterno Sandusky thing, which is, I was hearing from some Penn State fans, which was a really interesting take, because people were talking about how they were handling the situation as Blackhawks fans. Penn State fans were like, well, like I was disgusted and ashamed, and I took like, 4 or 5 years, and you just got to let it see. And now I'm like back and forth. It's like, with the Blackhawks, I feel like given a certain set of circumstances, that's plausible, reasonable, I guess, maybe not reasonable, but plausible. But like, I just don't know how Penn State has any fans left after that. I don't want to go down that road. It's just blasphemous to me that they.
Well, these Penn
amazing.
State fans, they want to be, well, we were disgusted. You fucking assholes were out there shouting, "We are Penn State" by the hundreds of thousands 3 days after this thing broke.
They were out there. They were out there the night it happened at Paterno's house at midnight,
like defending him, and not only that, like these are the people who, and I remember this. I watched this news report when the NCAA came out and said we're invalidating all of the wins during the Paterno era. You had Penn State fans who were saying this is equivalent to 9/11.
Which is just
fucking dumb takes, but yeah.
And to give credit to the Blackhawks fans, almost completely across the board, I feel like the same, maybe not necessarily to the extent that I have, excuse me, but many, the majority by far, Blackhawks fans I've seen online have been very much like, fuck the Blackhawks, like fuck them. Like I don't. There hasn't been any sort of like, well, Kyle Beach, he's a liar. There hasn't been any of this. Well, everyone's gone, so my conscience is clean. Nothing like that. I think, honestly, they'd get far more pushback if they changed the logo than they would anything about this case. Because I think almost entirely the Blackhawks fans are like, yeah, fuck him, fuck them, fuck those guys. Like, fuck that. But, if you were to change the logo, it's like, whoa. I need my Indian head. I need me that neon Indian head on that crest, okay? Like,
I've only got 50% of a vote on this. I've only got a half a vote, but I'm not bothered by the.
Well, okay. Grant, I don't have any vote because I have no native ancestry as far as I'm aware. But like my thing, and this is in a vacuum, divorced from everything else, was that like, it's not a racist cartoon. It is meant to be a depiction of a historical figure who is significant to the region, Chief Blackhawk. And so again, in a vacuum, I never saw a problem with it, right? And granted, I'm not telling, Native American people they can or can't be offended by it. I'm just saying, as someone who is a fan of hockey history, and a historian himself, that's always been my opinion of it. With that being said, and I say this as, again, someone who loves hockey history and is really into it and is really into the legacy of these teams, not saying that my opinion has changed on the matter, because it really hasn't, but an identity change maybe wouldn't be the worst thing just to shake off some of the stink.
I just want it to be over with.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, like if I'm a Cleveland Indians fan, even if you don't like the Guardians, it's like, aren't you glad to just be done talking about?
You don't have to have the conversation every year about Chief Wahoo.
I wish that were the case, guys, but I tell you,
I know there's
my
dumb
Facebook
people.
feed is so, the
Well,
roller derby team is suing the Guardians now over the name.
Yeah.
Please go back, not just to the Indians, which okay, Indians we can have a debate about. They want to go back to Chief Wahoo, which I grew up as a kid. I'm like, Wahoo's cool. And as I got older, I'm like, yeah, it's not so cool. And then, I as I matured, I'm like, no, this is bad. This has got to go. But they want to go all the way back to Wahoo. They I don't know. I don't want to say that they're dumb, smart, whatever, but they don't seem to see the offense to it. And that it just blows my mind.
Well, it's I think it's so divisive, and maybe it's just because we're like logo dorks that like it's just and we're mods of the logo dork forum. Like this conversation is just like, I can't do it anymore. I just fucking change it. I don't want to talk about it anymore. Just fucking change it. Like I just, because you can't move on until it's changed. And I feel like there's no better time if you're the Blackhawks to just say, hey, everyone fucking hates us right now anyway. And our team is fucking garbage. Like we're fucked for like 3 or 4 years contractually. We're just trash. Just do it now. Rip the Band-Aid off and be done with it. Well, you'll get some goodwill points. You can probably, people will come around and buy new merch and shit. Like there's a lot of people out there who are going to be pissed with whatever Washington does. But at least it'll be fucking over with and you can pick a lane.
Well, I was going to bring that up because now the 32s have been the 32s for the second season now?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Are we still seeing the blowback over the old name as much?
I don't.
Last year we got a bit of it, but now it's kind of like, it seems like it's calmed down a little bit.
I think people have kind of just like accept it's like, and I think it's like they're going to pick a new name at the end of the season, and that'll be the new name, and soon that'll be over. I think. I
mean, with the short attention span theater that we have today, I just can't picture people staying too fired up about anything for too long. So maybe Andy's got a point. You go, you know what? Now's the time. We'll do it. That'll be the end of it. And this time next year, everybody's forgotten we've even done it. Maybe 2 years from now. It'll probably take 2 years to clean it out. But yeah.
I mean, it takes time. I mean, time is absolutely vital to this, but you can't have that. You need to start the clock. You just take some action. I mean, from the perspective of these teams, it's a very expensive, very critical thing. You want to get the branding more or less right, which I don't think personally Cleveland did, but either way.
Hey, now I love the truck stop baseball.
But anyway, that's my. But I gotta say, man, this has actually been sort of a renaissance for me because following the Blackhawks has been really tedious for the last few years, and it really even wasn't fun the last year they won the Cup because it got to the point where everyone hated them anyway because of their success, and Kane's kind of a dick, and so they've been bad, they've been mediocre, and I just sort of have been living in this insular world of hockey surrounding the Blackhawks. And it's been kind of miserable. So by jumping in, I don't know what happened, but I just latched the fucker right onto Seattle. And it has been awesome. Like they're having fun in Seattle and it rules. They're not an amazing team. Like they're okay. They're 500-ish or so. But like hearing Lithium after every goal and seeing the fucking kick-ass arena they have and throwing the stuffed fish into the crowd. And like the ice cleaners, the ice sweepers are all dressed like Pike's Place. Kind of, it's really neat. It's a really cool thing. So
I know one of their games on ESPN Plus. I haven't seen them yet.
Yeah, throw it on. Plus their jerseys fucking rule. So there's always that, in my opinion.
But back to the original point though. I mean, I with the Blackhawks, I can totally, using Penn State as an example. If that were the Buckeyes that had done that, I would have been done that day. That's it. And I mean, it's just like people go, oh, you say that now. Or Penn State people like to say, oh, you say that now. But if it were you, it's like, no, if it were me, I'd been like, fuck this. I'm not even having any part of this because I don't want that stench all over me.
What's the suicide? What was the team that not suicide, the death penalty school, SMU?
SMU.
Yeah. I mean, have they, SMU
they can never come back to the levels they were.
No, but they also like what they did was more of like a white collar crime kind of thing. And
Yeah, like they didn't sexually assault anyone. They just kind of cheated.
And you know what? Like they got caught paying a lot of players a lot of money. Now, that's just the way it works in college football.
Right.
And the Buckeyes have been busted doing the same thing. I'm like, yeah, that's no big deal. But when like sexual predators and sexual assault and that sort of thing, if it's an organizational thing that they could have stopped and didn't, I got to check out at that point. I don't care that I spent thousands of dollars at your fucking university, probably another $1,000 on your gear, but you know what? It's all gone and that's it. I never wear my class rig again. I'm done with you. That's it. Fuck off.
Yeah. I mean, it's just remarkable that like, SMU, they get their hand caught in the cookie jar and get made an example of. Their punishment was drastically harsher than what happened to Penn State. Penn State's punishment was pretty bad, but it's more been sort of an informal like community punishment where people.
Well, not only that, but they revoked it. The NCAA returned the wins.
That's right. They went back on the word. Yeah.
Yeah.
They kind of they're in this weird. They've been in this weird purgatory about Paterno to where they almost don't even want to talk about it. It's almost like let's forget. Everyone just forget and let's move on. But who's going to forget that? I mean, that's one of the most incredible and horrible things to happen in sports. And these people are just so happy to just put on their Nittany Lions horseshit and just, there you go, son. I want you to go proudly represent Penn State. Fuck that. If I had kids there, I'd fucking take them out of there like back then and now,
This is why, and a lot of Ohio State fans have given me shit about this. I would if you gave me the choice at the beginning of the season, you've got to lose 2 and win 1. You've got Michigan State, Michigan, and Penn State. I'm like, we're beating Penn State every fucking time. I get more satisfaction out of that than I do out of beating our traditional rivals, because you know what? As long as they're going to continue to go on like this, that's how long I want to fucking firebomb them every time we play them. Because it's just it is incomprehensible to me. First off, that the first time that somebody came to that fuck Joe Paterno and said, "Hey, you know what? Your defensive coordinator is banging kids in the showers." That should have been the end of it right then and fucking there. That moment, and they didn't. And then it went on. And then that fuck walked into the shower, saw Jerry Sandusky doing something to a kid in the showers. And what did he do? Did he go to the police? Did he walk in and go, "Hey, motherfucker, what are you doing?" No. I better go tell coach.
He called his dad, and his dad told him to talk to Paterno.
Coach, I'm sorry. If I see you, I don't know how old the kid was. I think 12, 14, something like that. If I see him going on a like I'm going, you know what? I don't want to go up and grab 2 naked guys, but I'm going to, because this has got to stop right here, now. It's fucking disgusting to me. So fuck them all the way to hell and back. I don't care.
I just don't understand. And there must have been some real bad. And I mean, I hate that we've gone down this rabbit hole, Penn State, because it's fucking horrible.
It's horrible.
But like, the NHL fines the Blackhawks $2 million over this. Yeah, they find
which by the way, $1 million less than the Devils for some
salary cap shit.
Salary cap shit, yeah.
Like, I just don't, maybe the NHL, and Bettman's been coming out. He's had a rough day today too, talking about this whole situation, just trying to deflect. But
what did you say about him and Sherry Dayoff? They took off their human masks and flipped their lizard tongues at each other.
Right. One lizard man recognizes another, and they kind of, basked in the sun for a few minutes and parted ways. But whatever. I just, I'm angry talking about this, and I'm angry even now because I just saw that Chris Pratt is going to voice Garfield now.
Yes.
What the fuck? What?
When did Chris Pratt become the go-to voice guy?
I actually thought about this. And I realized why he's become the go-to voice guy. He's got a voice that is distinct enough that you will hear it and go, "I know who that is."
Yeah, but if he's distinct and he does like 8 different characters, then he's not distinct anymore.
But at the same time, he's got a distinct voice, but it's also like mundane and nondescript enough that it appeals to that like middle America fucking mass. So that's why I think he gets it's like he's both recognizable and yet bland enough to be wholly marketable.
Well, more power to him. I mean, get the checks while you can get them, because it's a fickle business out there, and cash in while you can. But yeah, distinct only goes so far. Like when you're voicing 8 different animated characters, you're not distinct anymore. You're just
So,
that guy
well,
that does animated characters.
Well, what's amazing is that Chris Pratt neither sounds like Mario or Garfield, and I doubt he's Garfield, and I doubt he's going to make an attempt to sound like either. Like, say what you will about Bill Murray, at least Bill Murray sounds like Garfield.
I will say this. I don't think in the history of podcasting you've ever seen a segue that turned that corner that quickly.
That was pretty drastic.
Serious cases of sexual assault in sports to fuck Chris Pratt for playing Garfield.
Right. That is like as prime bass as you're ever going to get right there. I mean, we were cruising along at 85. We slammed that fucker into reverse, went around,
turned that corner, and just slid right on her. Yeah.
I also the people need to stop using 9/11 as this sort of comparison. Like I read the other day, Joakim Noah getting celebrated in Chicago just the other day. Coming back with the Bulls, they're kind of doing like he's now a representative of the team or whatever, ambassador of the Bulls.
Is he a global ambassador like Drake is for the Raptors?
I think he's like more of like an official, not just like a global ambassador. I think he's just sort of like a
global ambassador of fun,
something like that. But anyway, they were talking to him about the whole Derrick Rose situation, and Derrick Rose, tore his ACL in the playoffs, and it was a big moment and fell on the court and everything. And he said when Derrick went down in whatever game 3, it was like our 9/11. And I'm just dude can't. No, you can't say that. Don't invoke 9/11.
Here's the thing. It's going to keep happening because look at how many fucking news stories, lean on Watergate.
Yeah.
Well, I think it's also these people didn't live. They like Joakim Noah was probably a young kid when 9/11 occurred.
If you were there and saw it when it happened, you would never compare it to anything.
I was 14 when 9/11 happened, and a lot of that period of my life is just sort of a blur, but that day is very crystallized in my memory.
And that's the thing, is that anybody who was old enough, like you were 14, I was 15. I mean, if you were a teenager, you have a pretty good idea of it. If you're older than that, you could probably still like sense exactly how you were feeling those times.
Oh, I can to this day. It's like one of the clearest memories I have.
Yeah, and it's not like some good feeling. It's not like it's sort of. I'm sure it's the same thing as like Kennedy getting shot, something like that, to where it's just you feel the ripple of the impact that everything has changed, and that and it's an incredible thing to behold. And
Derrick Rose going down with injury is not
that.
I can tell you guys, okay, I used to, we always heard all the stories about the World War II guys. We got attacked by Japan, and they all ran out to join. And I always thought, man, I just don't know if, I don't know that I could have done that. I admired it, but I always thought, how in the fuck? What made you decide I'm going to go join the army, and go off to Europe or to the Pacific and get killed? And I could never understand it. Then 9/11 happened, and I was so pissed. You just wanted to do something. And then I understood it. I'm like, because I was like, I'll go join right now, but I was too old. But I finally got it. That's how horrific 9/11 was. I was ready to go off and fight a war over this shit without even knowing like who the fuck I was fighting with or anything. So you can't compare that to Derrick Rose blowing out his knee or
Joe Pa having his wins taken away.
Joe Pa having his, fuck you for that. I mean, come on, Penn State.
There is no sports equivalent of that.
No
matter what you like, if you emotionally,
the Vegas Golden Knights making the Stanley Cup Finals is the closest. But
Jesus. It's just I mean, there is obviously a big factor of ignorance because we're sadly in the year 2021 where a lot of these kids are 18, 19, 20 years old who didn't experience. All they have is like grainy, and that's another thing. When you look back at 9/11 footage, even though it happened in 2001, HD wasn't really terribly. Yeah, so the footage all looks like it's from 1989, and
it's really telling. Like there are kids in university. There are kids in university right now who were not alive when it happened. Like
right,
so,
yeah, it's to them like what say Pearl Harbor is to us.
Yeah, it's just like something you learn about in history.
Yeah, and that was the immediate comparison the day afterwards. Like this was your Pearl Harbor, this is just, you're gonna invoke this for the rest of your life. So it really irritates me, and that's the thing, and that's why to go all the way back to the Blackhawks, when people say like this is this is the Joe Paterno Sandusky scandal of the NHL. It's like, whoa, let's slow down.
Let's on that a little, yeah.
Yes, it is horrible and it is shitty and deplorable, but it is not that. So don't 1-to-1 this shit. But I also don't like when Admiral or similar personalities say like, well, isn't that what we want hockey teams to do, is to sacrifice everything to win? Isn't that why we like hockey?
Not when they sweep sexual assault under the rug.
No, I mean, I'm all for winning at all reasonable costs. I think would be the way I would go with it. And I don't think sexual assault is reasonable.
And look, to specifically address the whole Admiral thing and others, who might have that same mindset. It's like, look, this hasn't happened to a team that I like yet. Not saying the teams that I like are innocent of this shit, because they probably aren't. But as far as I know, nothing's come out yet. But like, so I don't have that frame of reference where I can oh, I know how I would react. But I'd like to think I'd be very reasonable about it. But like, at the same time, like, I get it. The team you grew up rooting for got caught doing some bad shit, and what your take on it was, where it's like I need to completely disassociate. I totally get that. That's completely valid. At the same time, I also don't blame anyone who can't make that clean break. But at the very least, if you're going to go like, hey, I've spent my entire life rooting for this team. They are like a huge part, not just of my childhood, but, of my sports fandom as a whole. I can't just leave the fandom. Like, I get it, but you still have to have enough self-awareness to go, what happened was fucked up. And I'm glad that everyone responsible has been, terminated.
Yeah. You have to like, I don't think there's any sort of, I have no animosity towards fans remaining with the Blackhawks at all. That if I get it, I'm not completely abandoning the Blackhawks. I'm just sort of going to donate my fandom elsewhere for a while and let the Blackhawks just hang out in the background and not really care about what happens to them. I just can't. It doesn't. I'm just trying to put them from my mind almost entirely. But I'm not going to sit here and be like, everybody should stop being a Blackhawks fan immediately, because it's not a Penn State situation where you should burn the whole thing down and salt the earth. It's just a really, really fucked up thing that has. The
city of Chicago was not complicit in this, as far as I know. I mean, I think it would be a tougher case to make to say that. What's the name of that fucking town that they live in?
Happy Valley State College.
State College. Yeah, I'd be a little. I mean, there's too much smoke there for people not to have noticed the fire, I guess is what I'm saying, and I don't see that with the Black.
You don't run a child sex ring for 40 years and not have at least a few people in the community notice.
Yeah, I mean, that's my point.
Yeah. Watch, and this is like 7 years old. If you watch the Happy Valley documentaries from like 2014 or something like that, it makes you want to just take a bulldozer to the town, and just make it rubble, because it should not be anymore.
It's basically like this. It's like, it's like when you discover, it's like, oh, there's this isolated cult compound in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah.
It's like that, only instead of, some weird dude saying he's Jesus, it's football.
Yeah, that's what I mean. I just think that it was systemic in Happy Valley or State College, whatever the fuck they call it. It was. I mean, not everybody, obviously, but too many people for me to be comfortable with. Let me put it that way. I just think that there was a whole thing going on there. I think more people knew about it than we'll ever know. And to sit back and let that happen, there's literally no excuse for that. There is absolutely no excuse for it. So fuck them. And no, the Blackhawks and Penn State are not the same thing. There are degrees of things here, and like the Blackhawks thing is not near to the degree Penn State is.
Right.
That's how you do it.
I mean, it makes sense to bring it up, like to bring up Penn State in terms of like, for the sake of, because I mean, these things have not been to this scale. They don't happen very often, so it's natural to say like, wow, this kind of reminds me of Penn State a little bit. But it's not the same to be like, Joe Quenneville equals Joe Paterno. That's not, I would say that's not. fair.
No, I would not say this. At the same time, I will say, yeah, it's probably he deserved to be, I guess, pushed away from hockey. Like,
heads definitely needed to roll in that situation, for sure. Yeah.
But just to give you a little glimmer of hope of the Blackhawks situation and the fan reaction, I just posted in the private chat the link to how things are looking for the game tonight. The Blackhawks taking on, I believe, the Ottawa Senators. And there's like nobody there. And
wow.
I don't know how much of that is the team being bad or the sexual assault stuff, but I mean, tickets are like $6 for this game, and nobody's going to this fucking thing. I mean, and it's a Monday too, I guess. But like, yeah, the attendance has not been good. I hope that attendance remains bad. And anyway, yeah, Blackhawks.
Show that real quick.
Meh. It's just a dismal evening at the United Center, but we do need to make our NFL picks this week. By the way, before we're done here tonight.
Before we get into that, one kind, I guess, one last diversion before we do that. Guys, we need to talk about Jim Harbaugh because it happened again.
Also, I love the GIF in the replies there on the right where you can see excellent. These are enjoying the woeful attendance at the United Center. But yeah, so the Michigan was up. What were they up by? Like two touchdowns?
30-14. Yep.
Yeah. They lost.
And then they ended up getting outscored like 26-3 from that point on or something like that.
23-3.
23-3. Wow.
And it was just I don't know what to say about the guy anymore. I mean, I could see it happening as I'm going, well, Michigan State, you're in a tough spot here. And all of a sudden I see Michigan starting to grip a little bit. And I'm going, oh, this could get interesting. Next thing you know, they're in the lead. And I don't know the best way I can describe it. I described it last week, again this week. He's the John Cooper, not the coach of the Lightning, but the John Cooper of football of Michigan. He can't beat anybody that matters. And it's hilarious to me because he's now 3-4?
3-4 against Michigan State, yeah.
And 0-5 against 0-6 against Ohio State.
And it's going to be 0-7 soon.
Yeah, this guy, somebody on Twitter from ESPN, I think it was, said like, Jim Harbaugh's got a combined record of 3-9 versus Michigan State and Ohio State. I'm like, hold on, motherfucker. Don't be putting our record in there with Michigan State's to make his look better. He hasn't beaten ever. Because people might mistake that goal. He must have beaten Ohio State in there somewhere. It's like, no. We're gonna keep this straight. But yeah, it's hilarious though.
But when you're the coach of Michigan and you've got a losing record against MSU and Ohio State, like, what are you even doing there?
Right. And this is how many seasons does this make? 5 or 6, 7?
This is the 7th season. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, at what point do you realize? And I was watching Pardon the Interruption today, and even those guys are going like, he can't win anything. What the hell's the deal? I mean, even when Tony Kornheiser and Mike Wilbon are piling on, it's like, you know what? It might be time to take a look at things, guys, because they're usually, I mean, they're just like, yeah, you can't win. They weren't excited. They were just like, well, no one's surprised by this. And that's what it's gotten to with Jim Harbaugh. No one is surprised that he loses these games.
Mm-hmm.
You're kind of surprised if he actually pulls one out. But can we finally say, okay, enough with the Michigan, like ranking them really highly every year until they get to the tough part of their schedule and start losing? It's a mirage every year. And Ohio State's going to stomp them too, and they'll probably lose again in between there somewhere.
Well, I mean, I mean, a lot of teams suffer from this. I mean, we were just talking about them. Penn State always seems to be ranked way too high, and every year, I mean, Penn State and Michigan kind of have the same thing going where, they get ranked high, they beat up on some cupcake teams, and then, they always end up dropping off at the end of the year when they eventually have to play someone who matters and they lose.
Well, I mean, yeah, they lost to Illinois in that ridiculous shootout.
Yeah,
it was like, okay, we're gonna do like a
dueling 2-point conversions that went on for 9 or 10 overtime, 9 or 10 periods. Yeah,
Ohio State. Ohio State didn't look great beating them, but they just beat them. Yeah, I mean, we had one of the best big man touchdowns ever though in that game. That was pretty cool. One of our 320-pound linemen picked up a fumble and ran it in for a touchdown. That was hilarious.
That's awesome.
But yeah, Jim Harbaugh. Jim Harbaugh. We said it all before. I guess all we can do at this point, Mike, is just stand here and bask in how right we've been about the guy.
Oh yeah, no, I get nothing but pleasure from it. It's hilarious. You know, they're yearly little things that make me smile.
Yeah. On the boards, Mike, I went in and I'm just like, Jim Harbaugh, folks. That's it. That's the post.
No, and like you've been saying, like Michigan State and Ohio State fans should be hoping he coaches there forever.
Oh
because,
my God.
yeah.
You'll still hear people say, give him a lifetime contract. It's like, please do. By all means. When you've got more of like East Lansing and Columbus wanting him to get a lifetime contract than the people in Ann Arbor do, that's a problem.
Mhm.
But I don't know who you replace him with, though. I don't know.
I mean, at this point, wouldn't anyone be an improvement?
Probably. But yeah, so there you go. And poor Gary, our friend Gary, friend of the show, friend on the boards.
Michigan alum.
It's tweets out he finally, like at halftime of that game when the Wolverines are up like 16.
Yeah.
I'm buying in on this team. I'm drinking the Kool-Aid. I'm like, oh no, don't do it.
That's just asking for like an Always Sunny in Philadelphia title cut sequence.
Right. That poor bastard. And it was like by the end of the game, I even said, I'm like, well, enjoy it now, but it all ends on November 27th because that's when they play Ohio State.
It turned out it ended a few weeks early.
And then I said, or possibly today. I really felt bad for him because it was like he had been watching the Mirage going, I don't think it's real. I don't think it's real. You know what? It's real. I'm going to go for it. And then it's like, no. That was it. So, anyway,
man.
Should we move on to we got
NFL picks?
We got to do our picks this week, and I don't give a flying fuck about the World Series, so we can totally omit that.
Yeah.
Did the Braves win? I don't even know.
No, they're going to game 6 in Houston.
They blew that 4-0 lead?
Yeah.
Fuck it, Atlanta.
Yeah.
I've watched about 20 minutes of this. I'm sorry, and it's fucking insufferable. I'm sorry. It's
okay.
So boring.
I understand it's boring, but at the same time, if Atlanta blows a 3-1 series lead where they are up 4-0 in Game 5, like that's just perfect, Atlanta.
Oh, yeah. Well, yeah. Yep. I'm telling you, man, you get that 3-1 lead. If you don't finish it in 5, you're done. I've been there. I was there with the Cubs, with the Andes Cubs in 2016. Indians had a 3-1 lead. So you don't do it here, you're not doing it. And guess what? They didn't do it here, and they ended up not doing it. Simple as that.
I mean, between the Georgia Bulldogs and that one one national championship against Alabama and the Falcons' legendary collapse, come on, Braves.
Well, the Braves have been in I don't know how many World Series. They won the one against, of course, the Indians because fuck them. That's why. It's just Houston's just too good to leave hanging around like this. And you get on somebody's throat, you got to finish them. But I don't have 7 hours to donate to this. I just don't. I'm not interested in watching baseball. You play it out from 4:00 in the afternoon. It's like 3 a.m. And just I don't know. They've ruined the game. What's more boring? Oh, there's a good question.
What's more boring, baseball nowadays or hockey during the dead puck era? Baseball nowadays, I think.
Definitely. I don't know what the dead puck era is, but
the dead puck era was during like the Devils' ascendancy, where they perfected the neutral zone trap. Yeah, and like every game was like 1-0, and it was just smothering. Nothing ever happened.
That. Yeah, that's how they beat the Wings in that 95 cup.
Yep.
Baseball's not boring in and of itself. It's all the bullshit in between that's boring. Like if they would make
the last real baseball team was the 2015 Kansas City Royals.
City Royals, you got it.
That was the last true baseball team.
I was looking at a thing, I think I might have saw it on ESPN or somewhere, but that in the 78 World Series between the Yankees and the Dodgers, the final score was like 9-8. They played that game in 2 hours and 18 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
And that was the World Series where you still had extra commercials and all the other stuff. So what the fuck happened here? You can't blame commercials because they've stayed the same length over that amount of time.
Mm-hmm.
Somewhere along the way, you can't. The players, they weren't. I don't know. It's just you got to do something. It's not the sport itself. There's too many home runs, too many strikeouts, and the 3 true outcome thing is kind of not fun to watch. But the issue people are having now, I think, bigger than anything, is it just takes too damn long.
Yeah.
And that's the problem, and you've got to fix that. I know the traditionalists don't like it, but put a pitch clock in there, keep those batters in the fucking box, and let's play baseball.
I think if you do those two things, keep the batters in the box and put a pitch clock in, it solves a lot of the problems.
Have you been to a minor league game with a pitch clock?
It's delightful. Yeah.
It's delightful is the perfect word for it. It really is. It's just but anyway, let's move on to our picks and 4-way, 3-way, and all that stuff.
Well, I didn't the trivia stuff I didn't have this week. It's kind of a busy work week, so I wasn't able to put it together. But picks wise, just to kind of review where things are at. Week 8, Greg had the Browns over the Steelers. Obviously, not his way.
Oh,
Greg is bringing up the caboose, 3-5.
Jesus.
Mike had the Cowboys over the Vikings, so he is 6-2. He leads the way. Zach chose the Bears for some reason, and and I chose the Cardinals over the Packers. Zach and I are both 5-3 with our picks. So there are 4 games.
Mike will attest to this. Mike will attest to how good Zach and I are at picking teams over the years.
Well, no, I just remember the year that you guys said the Bucs are going to be in the playoff hunt, and they ended up being like 4-12. But you were technically right because the NFC South was so dog shit that year that at like 2-9 they were still in the hunt.
Yeah, Anyway, so I've got some work to do. It sounds like.
So I've chosen 4 games, one for each of us. And Zach will get the last one. So. Greg, if you would like to pick first or last, what would you prefer? I guess you can't pick last, but
I'll go first.
Okay. Go ahead and pick 1 through 4.
2.
All right. This is the Cardinals at the 49ers. The Cardinals are favored by 2.5.
Wow. I don't know what the quarterback situation is with the 49ers.
Jimmy Garoppolo starting. Yeah.
I don't think the Bears are as bad as people think they are. So I think that's a decent win for the 49ers yesterday on the road. Cardinals, I don't think the Packers have as good a defense as the Bears do. And the Packers shut them down pretty good. I'm going to go with the San Francisco 49ers.
All right. Joe Montana is hopefully being channeled there to.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah. All right, Mike, 1 through 3.
2.
All right, you are choosing between the New England Patriots at the Carolina Panthers. New England favored by a field goal.
The Panthers have devolved into absolute dog shit, so I'm going to go with the Patriots.
Okay.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Okay. I will. When you guys pick, Greg, pick 1 or 2.
Well, we've gone with 2 every time, so let's go with 2 again.
All right. I will be picking between the Packers at the Chiefs. Kansas City favored by less than 2.5. I hate this. I had the Packers last week too. I'm going to go with the Packers because the Chiefs have shown weakness, and Aaron Rodgers thrives on weakness
and feasts on it.
And feasts on it. Yeah, and so Zach will get the privilege of choosing between the Browns and the Bengals. So that'll be a tough one. Bengals again favored by less than a field goal.
Did the Bengals win this week?
No, they got beat by the Jets.
Yeah,
called by something called Mike White, a quarterback.
What the like this like. After last week, everyone was like, it is the Bengals league now. And then, like, the fucking New York Jets. What the hell, man?
You know, and the thing of it was, too, is that this Mike White character, the quarterback, the backup to, what's that dude's name? Zach Wilson?
Yeah.
He was the first quarterback for the Jets to throw for over 400 yards in, like, 20 years. Which, I mean, with the Jets, that's not that surprising. But, I mean, he looked good. This guy did against what I thought was a good Bengals team. So I don't know what the hell's going. This league is screwed. I have no idea who's good, who's not. I mean, look at Brady yesterday. It was like he had everything that he needed for a Tom Brady comeback. He throws a pick 6 and ends the game. What? I mean, how's that even happen? But
yeah, the Jets have come out and been like really non-committal about Zach Wilson too. It's really weird. like you trade for they traded for what's his face?
Joe Flacco.
Joe Flacco.
Well, I did see Joe Flacco on the sidelines yesterday, by the way, guys. An official Joe Flacco sighting.
How'd he look?
Like Joe Flacco.
Did he look elite?
He looked like a fucking moron that got lucky a couple times.
Like if this nobody dude, I don't even know his story. He's South Florida and Western Kentucky University graduate.
Western Kentucky, home of the Hilltoppers. Yeah,
5th round draft pick in 2018. He's just kind of a practice squad dude who got promoted, and he wanted. If they keep winning with him, we'll do with Zach Wilson.
Well, it becomes a Kurt Warner situation, doesn't it? Like the guy that was, I don't know, doing coal mining in Kentucky.
Not the same. I mean, it would be more like a well, what's the name of the guy? Well, it wouldn't even work that way either. Of the Cardinals quarterback who Josh Rosen. It's kind of like a Josh Rosen situation, a little bit, but in this case, Josh Rosen was supplanted by a 1st-round pick.
Yeah,
number 1 overall pick. This is like a practice squad guy coming up out of nowhere, and it's a number 2 overall pick rookie who's suddenly, staring down losing his job to this fucking nobody. I don't know.
Isn't that perfectly Jets, though? I mean, really, when you come right down to it, could you think of it any other way? It's just the Jets. That's what they do.
Yeah, I mean, it kind of just looks like they had like a generic football player who they just had at like, I don't know, who do we have? We got this guy, Michael White. Says he plays football. Okay.
We put Madden on automatic creative player, and he's what came out.
Well, the thing is, though, if Mike White continues to succeed, and you've got Zach Wilson here, like, what does that say about your situation with Zach Wilson's, like, your training of him? Because he's not looked very good.
No.
And then this Mike White, the practice squad dude, what does that say about your evaluation and your development? What does it say about Zach Wilson? Like, I mean,
it says that the Jets are bad at football, but we've known that for a while.
Well, yeah, you're right. I mean, Zach Wilson was Mike White went to where? Western Kentucky, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm trying to think of the great Brigham Young quarterbacks. Isn't that where Zach Wilson's from?
Steve Young.
Yeah.
Steve Young, and then who?
Jim McMahon. Yep.
Jim McMahon went to Brigham Young?
Yeah. Yeah, it's weird, isn't
Jim
it?
McMahon, is he a Mormon? Like,
no.
Because I know Steve Young is, but
no. Jim McMahon had one of the best quotes ever about Brigham Young. They said, "What was your favorite memory of going there?" He said, "Leaving."
Oh God, yeah. Because if you're not a Mormon, if you're not raised Mormon, and if you're not all in on that lifestyle, and you're like a early 20-year-old kid, like in fucking Utah, like that cannot be a good time.
Well, he made the best of it. I promise you.
Oh, he did, but yeah, it's like, it's 9:00 on a Friday night. Where are we going? It's like, well, there's Bible study.
More Bible study.
There's the water bar.
Also known as a drinking fountain.
God.
A good old root beer keg happening.
Yeah, they're giving a root beer keg party down at the Jesus. But anyway, I'm just trying to think of like good, so there's McMahon and Young, and I can't think of another one. So I mean, I don't know. Well, first off, you're going all the way back to the beginning of the show talking about the Lions. Remember the Jets last year were like just tanking for Trevor Lawrence. Then they fucked up and won 2 games in a row and ended up with Zach Wilson.
Yeah.
So this is perfectly Jets. It's like they had the guy, probably the best guy in the draft, and they blew that. So they picked this guy from Utah, who's probably never seen a black person before in his life, bring him to New York City, and then this dude that they created in Madden Creative Player comes out and goes, well, I'm going to put up 400 yards and beat Cincinnati. So I don't know.
Ty Detmer is another one that
Ty,
can be
yeah, he wasn't exactly.
Oh, that's a blast from the past.
Did Mark Wilson go to BYU too? Am I remembering that wrong?
Yes, Mark Wilson. Yeah, in 1980 draft by the Oakland Raiders.
Yeah, he sucks too.
That's got to be a culture shock going from Brigham Young University to the Raiders.
Right, especially back then.
Yeah.
Other notables were Virgil Carter, Gifford Nielsen, John Beck, and Max Hall. Max Hall.
Virgil Carter was he was an okay quarterback with the Bengals, but that was way back in like
that was back in the late 60s, early 70s.
Yeah, he's no Carl Anderson in the pantheon of Bengals quarterbacks.
Oh, Jesus.
Anyway, we can go down this rabbit hole too with the Brigham Young thing.
But we've got our picks locked in for next week. I'll get Zach's pick between the Browns and Bengals, and we'll circle the wagons next week and see where we're at.
I have one question to go out on to end the show with tonight. Part of me is like the I don't care that I'm a terrible person part of me is going, it wouldn't break my heart if the Browns traded for Deshaun Watson. So that's where I'm at with the quarterback situation. I'm not saying
who would you be willing to give up for it?
Fuck Baker Mayfield straight up right now.
Right.
No, I don't want Deshaun Watson.
You hate him.
No,
you hate the shit out of him.
No, I couldn't do
that.
Did
Baker play last week?
Zach says we're getting our answer live here.
Yes.
Oh, that's Andy Sexton.
That was me. Yeah. My dogs are going nuts.
I don't think Baker Mayfield's the answer, but I also think too that you can't keep playing the guy while he's hurt. He's overthrowing balls. They're playing to keep his shoulder healthy, which you can't play the NFL like that. It's just you've got to put Case Keenum in there until Baker's healthy, and let's just go. Be done. I mean, it may blow up in our faces. I don't know, but enough of this nonsense. 10 points against the fucking Steelers. Are you kidding me? So I don't know. I don't want Deshaun Watson. I changed my mind on that quick, but
probably not a good idea. No, you don't want it.
So anyway, we got anything else, fellas? Or are we going to call it a night?
Nah, I think it's good for me. It's a good starting point.
Right.
Hopefully Zach comes back next week full of piss and vinegar, ready to talk about California high school playoffs and the Ducks of Anaheim or whatever the fuck else he wants to talk about. So
yeah, I signed one of his Ducks of Anaheim for my fantasy hockey team today, so I hope he's actually pretty good.
Nice, very nice tribute.
I'm off to the miraculous 3-0 start in hockey, which I've never done before. I don't know what's going on here.
I won our first game, and then I've tied the last two. I don't know how that happened.
You and I are playing this week, as a matter of fact.
Are we? Oh,
yeah.
Let me check that out. Are we?
Yeah, pretty sure.
Yes, we are. I'm up 1-0. Suck it.
Okay. a lot of game left here. All right, folks, we're going to call it a night. As always, follow us on Twitter at Basically Sports. Subscribe via Apple Podcast, Spotify, Stitcher, and YouTube, and wherever fine podcasting is sold. We will see you all next time.
Laters.
So long.